Hello, I just finished reading this book, Iron Ambition, My Life with Cus DAmato, once again by Mike Tyson. This is the second Mike Tyson book I've reviewed recently, and this is more about Cus DAmato than it is about Mike Tyson. He was a very, very interesting character. Mike Tyson wasn't his only champion. Before him, he trained a guy called Floyd Patterson, who I'd never heard of, who became the heavyweight champion of the world. And Floyd Patterson had a very interesting background. You know, a guy used to crawl into a little cupboard in the railway station and suck his thumb because he had such a difficult childhood, very, very little confidence at that point, quite similar to Mike Tyson, I guess. And this book really goes over Cus's life quite a lot, and it was an exceptionally interesting life. The guy was running from the mafia for most of his life because boxing back in the the 50s, 60s was largely controlled by the mafia. They owned all the fighters. There's an ongoing theory that Sonny Liston, once heavyweight champion of the world, was killed by mafia-administered heroin overdose. So it kind of opened up my eyes to that sort of the world of boxing. I mean, right now, of course, Mike Tyson is a very, very hot topic because at the age of 54, he's making a comeback. And personally, I hope he's very successful because the guy is incredible. There's a lot of famous quotes attributed to Mike. One of them is, "Everyone has a plan until they're punched in the face," which was actually revealed in this book, a Cus DAmato quote. And Cus was a badass. I mean, he didn't take shit from anybody, including the mafia bosses. Turns out he may have had protection from another part of the mafia. Very interesting. The guy never slept in the same place 2 days in a row to try and save himself from being killed off by the mafia. The guy never walked the same route home. Really quite fascinating, as well as being an insight once again into Mike Tyson's life and into the life of former heavyweights. One of the things they talk about in here is Jack Johnson. Jack Johnson, who at the turn of the century was a real pain in the arse for white supremacy. The turn of the century, maybe not, maybe 100 years ago. Basically, he was an insult to the supposed supremacy of the white race because he kicked all their asses in the ring. And eventually, when he was very old and hadn't boxed for a long time, because back then, if you weren't white, your life was pretty much shit. If you lived in the West, you were either a slave or something else. And even if you weren't, you got treated like it was just awful. But yeah, there was Jack Johnson, who I'll probably read about as well. Very, very interesting. There's a film about him, apparently. There was Floyd Patterson. There was Jose Torres, who was another champion of Cus DAmato's, who basically left him, went to the mob for money, and Cus was very, very bitter about that. Really good book. It took me a long time to read, which is probably why I'm a bit more hesitant than usual in this review than I am the others, because the other ones I literally read the book, put it down and start reviewing. I finished this book about 3 days ago, and it's 400 and something pages long, and then in between I started reading other things and having to do things for work. But overall, if you like anything to do, if you're interested in boxing, definitely read it. If you're interested in Mike Tyson, definitely read it. If you're interested, even if you're interested in self-improvement, read it, because one of the quotes that was in here that Mike talks about was, "Discipline is doing what you hate doing as if you love doing it." For example, my washing line just broke. Now, I hate DIY, but I thought, God, I hate doing this, and I thought, well, let's pretend I love it. And guess what? The job got done. Nobody got killed. I didn't go mad. So, good advice in there. Thank you, Mike. It's a good read. It's a very good read. It wasn't an easy read, but that may have been, like I said, because there's lots of other stuff going on. And I read it having read The Undisputed Truth by Mike Tyson, being a huge Mike Tyson fan, as of reading that book and then looking at all his fights on YouTube and everything else I could see. And then at the same time, I guess, being caught up in the excitement of his comeback training. I mean, the guy's 54, and have you seen the shape he's in? Embarrass most guys of any age. He's just incredible. He's still got that power, he's still got that strength. And there'll be a lot of detractors out there saying, "Oh, you've never seen him actually boxing, he's just taking the bags and this and that." I wouldn't want to be that bag, let's say that much. Would I recommend the book? Yes. Is it an easy read? No. Does it really matter? No. Who gives a damn? It's not an easy read. An easy read is something you're interested in reading and you don't get distracted from. So It's starting to rain again now, so I'm going to end this review and go inside. One of the things I found out that Cus used to do for his fighters was, way before anybody else had all these ideas, way before people like Marissa Pierre or Paul McKenna or Richard Bandler or any of those guys were big and popular, Cus used to take his fighters down to a hypnotist, hypnotise them, and then once they were under, he'd start telling them things like, you're the greatest fighter ever, you're this, you're that, you're this. And so I thought, you know what, just for fun, I'm going to get a pre-recorded hypnosis and put it on my phone, and then afterwards say to myself all the things I want to believe about myself. I tried it for a few nights, and then people started noticing changes in me. So that's a nice little trick you could try. Anyway, going inside, recommend this book. 7 out of 10 because it's not an easy read, otherwise I'd give it my usual 8. I seem to review everything positively, but it's because I love reading and I love information and the stories and everything like that. If you haven't read or anything about Mike Tyson, do so. I think his story is incredible. I mean, the guy should be locked up, he should be dead, but because he met Cus, he wasn't. In fact, he became the youngest ever heavyweight champion of the world. And did you know that when Mike Tyson did a cameo in The Hangover, he was in the middle of a massive cocaine addiction and massively overweight, but from that point he still managed to turn his life around. At the end of this book, he said he never wants to get back into boxing again, but I think there's a part of his personality that relies on it and needs to box, or at least needs a challenge, needs fair. There's some very good Mike Tyson quotes about fair, which he gets from the teachings of Cus DAmato as well. You saw that one coming, didn't you? So I'll leave you with that. I could go on for ages about this book, I know I could. So read it if you want to, and I think after hearing the review you should read it anyway because it's a really good book. Alright,